About 30,000 people commit suicide in Japan per year. Or in other words, one person willingly gives up their life every 15 minutes. More people choose to kill themselves than die in car accidents. Depression is one of the leading causes of suicide in Japan, and recently, the topic of depression has been gaining attention in the Japanese media. Compared to other countries, Japan has a very low depression rate. But these numbers come from those who report it. It is easy to see that something is amiss when looking at Japan's staggering suicide statistics. A lot of people couldn't tell anyone about their problems, and ultimately chose to end their lives. Why do so many Japanese people go through this torture? There must be something that needs to be fixed in Japanese society. If so many people are suffering, something needs to be done. I've lived in Japan now for 3 years, studying and working. After getting to know many people from all sorts of ages and professions, I began to imagine how stressed everyone must be. Living in Japanese society feels like you aren't living for yourself. People work long hours, as is expected of them by their bosses. Students study at cram schools for hours, as is expected of them by their parents. Japanese people conform in every way possible, as is expected by other Japanese people. You sacrifice your needs for the group. Every day and in every way possible, people feel pressure from society to do this. At least, that's how I feel.
Well, let's start from the big statement that Japan is in general a collectivistic society where group thinking, group loyalty is very highly valued. So as a result, we can expect that following the rules of the group and following the leader could be the utmost priority for many people.
やはりその同調的であると言われているグループもそういうような人々を集めて安心したいというところもあるのだと思うので同調的にグループのコミュニティを結成して活動したりするのかなと思うんですけれども、そこについて同調しづらいというか、そこに加入しづらい状況であったりパーソナリティであったりする人たちが孤立化したような気持ちになってで不適応を起こし気持ちが塞ぐっていうようなことは起こるのかなというふうに思いますね。
Japan's salarymen are famous for their dedicated attitude. They work longer hours with shorter vacations, have to appeal to their bosses and coworkers, attend the company's drinking gatherings to keep up appearances, and must put their job as first priority, even above their family. With all of this pressure coming from every direction, Japan's workers live a very stressful lifestyle.
Of course, it's a huge burden in the long run. It's not just stress-related stuff. It's, of course, if you work long hours and you don't sleep enough, it's obvious that sooner or later your body starts screaming and saying, I have enough. Right? And of course, stress, because stress is both on the physiological level and the mental level. But I think in the long run, you can expect people who are simply exhausted, burn out, they are not motivated, they are unhappy, and eventually depressed.
The young age of 30s committed suicide because of working so much, working hard. We can in Japanese say 過労自殺, suicide due to overwork. Senior colleagues doesn't take summer vacation. So junior colleagues cannot take vacations. So this is not a peer pressure, not peer, the boss and junior colleagues. So this is very Japanese style.
Of course, this way of acting as a group starts out much earlier than the workplace. Students in Japan face many pressures themselves. Like any teenagers in the world, students feel pressured by their parents, teachers, and for the studying required to pass their exams. However, studying isn't the only thing they have to worry about. Japanese students pressure each other to fit in with the majority, with the risk of being left out by the entire student body.
If I say something which is not, can be considered funny or considered silly, automatically I am already targeted as a, So that it's a peer pressure. It's imaginary actually. Even it's not only real pressure, but it's kind of what if. It's imaginary. I think, what if I say something silly? Maybe you never say anything silly, but in your own perception, if you think you did something like that, it's already the reason to feel stress about it. So that's another part.
私が行っている大学でも特定の学部の特定の授業はネイティブの先生が英語で行うっていうようなものがあって、やっぱりそれがとてもプレッシャーだっていう学生さんにあったことがありまして、で日本人の学生さんがほとんどなので聞いていくとみんなその先生が言ってることはよくわからないっていうところで安心してはいるんですけれど、やはり先生としては日本人であることをちょっと忘れて非常にダイナミックにね物おじせずやるっていうのがその授業のテーマなのでどんどんとアグレッシブに発言したりとかしていくようにと言われてるんですけれども、やっぱりそこに馴染みがないので、発音がおかしいんじゃないかとか言ってることがよく分からなくてちゃんと返せないからどうしたらいいんだろうとか。そういう学生さんにはよく会いますかね。
For young people, being, accepted by others is one of the most important things. If you don't feel it, you suffer. You simply suffer, and of course, lowering your self-esteem is the first step. Next thing could be, again, starting doubting yourself. Oh, I'm worthless. I'm a failure. Nobody likes me. How I can be liked if they don't even want to talk with me now? Or what happens next? Maybe they start bullying me now, or they start talking about me, gossiping. Now I'm already target of gossiping, and then of course get worse. And the next step will be social withdrawal.
中学校の時にある子がいじめられてたんですね。そういじめられてた時に結構割とクラスの多くの人たちが一人の子をいじめてたことがありました。で、そういった時にやっぱりもちろんいじめたくないって思ってる子はたくさんいたんですけど、やっぱりそのある集団の発言力が高かったり影響力が強いと周りの人たちも言うこと聞かないと自分もこんな目に遭うんじゃないかとか、そういうふうに思ってしまったり、やっぱり中学生ですからそういう恐怖心があると一緒になってやっぱりその一人の子を悪口言ったりとかいじめてしまう、そういうことやっぱりありましたね。そういうことがある状況も実際僕は目にしました。
Communities or gatherings of people who are similar can be a good cultural aspect. It makes people feel less alone in their situation. Yet, with the Japanese culture emphasizing so much on fitting in, there can be consequences. if one doesn't fit in, they could be ostracized. That's why so many Japanese people care about their status, or maybe even their child's status. As they put this pressure onto themselves, they pile more and more stress into their lives just for the fear of being different.
まあやはりみんなと同じように成績を取って同じような感じで、割といい学校に進んで、同じように、浪人しないで大学入ってとか、あと、新卒で就職しなくちゃとか、そういういわゆる世の中っていうようなルートからそれないようにっていうところに重きを置いているご家庭っていうのが多くて、でそういう中でいると、そのお子さんたちもやっぱりちょっとずれただけでも非常に不安が強くなって、自分は周りと同じじゃなくて普通じゃないからっていう訴えで、カウンセリングとか相談に来られる方多いかなと思いますね。
Yes, I think because I think here everybody always functions in some organization, right? It could be formal group or informal group, but you always belong here to a group. Of course, in schools globally, you have the same thing. You are always a student of a particular school or something. But here, about this extracurricular thing, you always are with someone who tells you what you should do, what you are not allowed to do.
そのコミュニティ内での価値観がちょっと合わなかったり、生活スタイルがご自身とちょっと違ったりですとか、そういったところで違和感を感じるんだけれども、やはりそのお子さんのことを考えると、その人たちともやっぱりうまくやっていかなければならないという思い込んでおられて、で非常に違和感や苦痛を感じてるんだけれども、そこに所属していなければいけないっていう。
It's a really complex issue. As I said, it's part of the Japanese mindset. In the same time, because Japan is dramatically changing and this kind of individualization is more and more common, more popular here, especially among young people, I think it creates kind of tension that young people especially are more individualistic now, but they still are under pressure of the old rules, kind of. So I think it is a problem, and I think it's going to be even bigger problem in the near future. I have no doubt that in terms of mental health, we are facing a huge crisis in Japan, and it's if we don't change the whole understanding about human rights, human well-being, things can get worse.
Even if we can see what is happening in today's society, we should look at the source to understand what is really going on. Where does this mindset come from? How can we relieve the pressure of Japanese people?
Japan is a religion is built on very strong philosophy or religion principles. For example, going back from the Confucianism or Buddhism or Shinto, they all created the way how Japanese people understood the world, how they interpreted the world around. And of course, we need to really go very deeply now, but in general, we can say, in short, we can say that Buddhism is more about caring for others. It's about, again, building harmony, that I'm not violent, I'm more peaceful, I'm more understanding, I'm more accepting others, and caring, right? I'm not thinking about myself just. It's already the message, that me is not that important, kind of. Of course, it's important, but harmony, again. Confucianism is clearly male-dominated messages. It's about structure of society, it's about figures in authority. I think that Confucianism is more about you follow the orders. No matter what, you follow the orders of the person in authority.
The Japanese cultures to somewhat softer, and because I like the Beatles, even I Beatles, I was grown up hearing Beatles, so many people are westernized rather than the elderly people. So so traditional Japanese culture is naturally changing to the newer Japanese culture, where the Western value system is stressed, a little bit stressed, and the Japanese value system are modified. So I think that we must change this society and the culture.
There's no easy solution here, because the question is who is going to benefit and who is going to implement it. It's not simply trying to incorporate Western understanding here. I don't think it's a good idea, and I'm actually against that, simply copying the model from other places of the world. It simply doesn't work. And Japan still has so much to offer. It's a very rich culture with so beautiful different features, and I'm really very far from judging that Western way is better, whatever. I'm really against such a thinking. I don't like even if someone is saying, well, what we should do, we should more just education here. Yes, okay, but education in what sense? Just bringing the foreign ideas. It's not first of all, it's not effective, and second, it's already kind of mindset of superiority. Someone is superior here. I don't like it at all. So I think the Japanese people themselves are the most entitled people to start thinking about incorporating some little changes.
人は人に弱音を吐いちゃいけないとか、弱みを見せちゃいけないとか、そんなことを言ったら人に迷惑をかけるから言っちゃいけないとか、いつも明るく元気に振る舞わないといけないって言われたりすることがあるようなんですね。ただやっぱ弱音は吐いた方がいいと思いますし、弱音を吐いて自分をの状況をね言ってみたりすることで楽になったり気持ちに余裕ができたりすることはあるので、弱音を吐いてもそれをそのまんまそうかって周りの人が受け止めてくれたりする環境があるだけでだいぶ楽になるんじゃないかなと思っています。だからそれは別に改めてカウンセラーみたいな人のところに訪ねていかなくても、周りの親御さんとか兄弟とか友達とかそういう身近にいる人たちでできることなので、ちょっとした弱音とか愚痴をポロッと吐いてそうなんだって言ってくれる人がもっと増えることがストレス社会を若干なんでしょうかね、減らしてくれるんじゃないかなと期待しているところです。
Maybe I can just say that I really believe that young people here are really the future of this country, and I really believe it that because young people are more energetic, they are more eager to try new things, and I believe, and I'm optimistic, even if I'm talking about coming crisis or something like that, I'm still optimistic that overall young people especially, they can overcome it, they can change. They are simply expect different things. So I think that could be like this internal pressure, not in terms of peer pressure now, I'm talking about like a movement on the social level where people say, we want different life. And I think that's what makes me optimistic about Japan.
While I was researching this topic, I realized that this is not a problem that has awoken recently, but something that has deep roots in the history of Japanese culture. But Japan is changing. It is not and will not be an overnight change, but in these times, people are beginning to talk about the problems that Japanese society faces. It isn't about becoming westernized. It is about people discussing these kinds of topics to find a solution that will work for Japanese society. Because Japan is such a beautiful country with beautiful people, I hope in the future that we can create a society with less pressure and less stress.